So we are doing a chicken lettuce wrap with a peanut sauce. This recipe calls for 2 red bell peppers, and so I'm going to just start preparing it. Now I am using a red bell pepper, but you could use green, you could use orange, you could use yellow, you can use whatever you have. So what we're going to do here is just get these all chopped up. So what I'm going to do is take a little bit of olive oil, and I'm just going to drizzle it in my pan here. So you can see I'm not measuring it. I have to give you a guideline approximate amount in the recipe, but you can see I've just drizzled it. And what I'm going to do is start by sauteing my red peppers. I'm going to pop that in here. Normally I'd wait until my pan is hot, and I'm going to let that get cooking. I'm also going to add in some garlic to this. And what I'm going to do is I like to shred them, but you could chop them. If you find that your tummy doesn't like garlic, I know that's certainly an issue in some members of our family, a nice substitution can be a garlic infused oil. So I'll just do a couple of cloves of garlic in here. And then I'm going to let this cook and saute while I build the sauce. And then of course I'm going to add in my chopped up chicken. So I actually cooked this last night, and I just put it on a baking tray and seasoned it with a little bit of salt and pepper, a little bit of olive oil on top. And now I've just chopped it up. So I'm going to put that in, and I'm just going to heat that one through. So we're heating up the chicken, and we're going to cook the red bell pepper. So I'm just going to pop that on my stove here. Normally I would follow the directions more in the recipe there, but just in the interest of time today, I'm just going to kind of collaborate those few steps. So the next thing we're going to do is build our sauce. And I think this sauce is delicious by itself. You could use this with this particular recipe. This could also be a staple sauce that you might enjoy with some noodles, maybe some chickpea pasta. You could have this as a pasta salad if you liked. So I'm going to start with a couple of tablespoons of a Tamari or a soy sauce, a lower sodium soy sauce. So I'll pop that in there. I've got some sesame oil. Sesame oil is a really nice staple oil to keep on hand because it's an easy way to add in great flavor into fast cooking. I've got some rice wine vinegar. I've also got a little bit of sweetener here. So if you're doing a more lower carbohydrate approach, you might use more of a monk fruit sweetener or a stevia. And if you're using, if you're not, keeping track of all the carbohydrates, you could just use whatever sweetener you have. I've got some natural peanut butter here. Now, if you're not on to natural peanut butter, you could use whatever peanut butter you have. But I made this switch quite a few years ago, and I haven't looked back because I find it tastes much better. So I'm just going to stir it all up. I'm going to add a little bit of just water, just to help thin it out just a little bit. The red peppers are cooking away. And if you could smell it in here, it's beautifully garlicky. So I'll just give that a little bit of a stir while that's cooking up. And so you could, if you wanted, if you like to keep your sauces separate, you could then just maybe throw this in the microwave just to heat it up. You could also throw it right in the pan and just let it heat up that way. So you have some options there. One of the reasons I like to keep it separate is I'm in a family of 4, and we all have different preferences for the amount of sauce that we have. We have one member that just doesn't even really like this particular sauce. I think they're crazy, but that's okay. Everyone has a right to their food preferences. But the value of keeping it separate allows you to do one meal, everyone gets the same thing, but people can really customize to what they want. So now what I'm going to do, I've already got my romaine lettuce chopped and prepared. So I took one of those heads, I cleaned it up, and I chopped it. And so I've got these nice and ready. So I'm going to grab a plate and take one of my lettuce wraps here. I'll grab a spoon. I'm going to I've got the chicken with the red bell pepper on it. So you can add as much as you like. Of course, you have to remember, if you're eating it as a lettuce wrap, you probably don't want to overstuff it too much. And then you could just put a little bit of sauce over top of that, and then top it with I've got these dry roasted peanuts. So I'm going to just pull that up there so you can see that. So I want to talk about adaptations of this because I think this one recipe could be used in different ways. So this I think is pretty lower carbohydrate. Again, especially if you're using that monk fruit sweetener. If we wanted to make this more Mediterranean in style, we could add in maybe some more mint leaves, which we could shred up nice and small. Another thing you could do if you wanted to make this more Mediterranean-esque would be maybe you'd serve this as a bowl. So you might not want to just have lettuce wraps for supper. So you can take your romaine lettuce and just chop it up. You could also use your spiralized zucchini. If you're doing more Mediterranean, you could have maybe some cooked brown rice. You could have some barley. If you know how to cook rice, you actually also know how to cook barley, and barley's got more of that whole grain kind of benefit to it than a plain white rice. We could use any kind of whole grain here. We could even use a whole grain pasta noodle. So we've got chicken and red bell peppers. Now you could also add in some frozen but thawed edamame beans. That is a really nice flavor pairing for this particular sauce. So instead of it being a lettuce wrap, now you've got it to be an entire meal, and then top it with some nuts and peanuts. There you have it. You've got one recipe eaten a couple of different ways. I think there's lots of versatility here that you could use whatever protein you have. You could use really whatever veggie you have here. We do a quick stir fry to it, heat it up, serve it on a lettuce wrap.